3, 2, 1.
You know, the narrative is that we are doing rocket science here. These are not kind of small little hobby rockets. We're building everything from scratch. There's engineering, there's design, there's art, there's chemistry, there's physics. Hopefully what happens with the students is that the narratives that are formed about them get broken down a little bit, whether they view themselves as not a math person, not as an engineer. Hopefully that all starts to go away as they become convinced that they are doing rocket science and that they can build these things and design these things and create something that really performs well.
The motor makers are responsible for making the motors that go into the rockets. So we make the fuel and we know the composition of it.
To build the motors, we needed to make the casing for the motor, and we had to sand the motors together so it could fit inside the rocket.
And then we also make the inhibitor sleeve, which is a protective layer in between the motors and the rocket body to keep the heat from transferring.
We're melting sorbitol, which is a sugar substitute that we mix with potassium nitrate.
What's it for?
The fuel.
So at the very start, we weren't sure what temperature to cook at for the motors. So we were cooking a little too hot and then they were burning. But we figured it out pretty quickly and now we have it under control.
I'm actually really glad that I got to be the booster engineer just because I always wanted to make things. I just didn't know how. I think that's like when the project starts to become something worth remembering.
Why did you choose the shape?
The shape?
Yeah.
Because it was aerodynamic, and we wanted our rocket to be tall, and this was the best shape to go with. We're using the fin jigs to hold the fins in place so we could weld them onto the rocket.
This is the most aggressive rocket. You guys don't mess around.
My name is Benjamin Tapiz. I am the fabricator and I'm in the Phoenix 6 group. It was really, really cool. This is the first time I've had the chance to be able to make something from scratch that I've really been excited for.
The aviation bulkhead is where the parachute is attached, so when it deploys, it'll stay hooked onto the rocket. The bulkhead is to stop the motor from going throughout the whole rocket.
The nozzle is made out of graphite, and we also use the lathe so all the pressure and force from the rocket could come out nice and smooth. So before we assembled everything, we drilled set screws into the rocket by drilling and tapping holes and then placing every component in. First we did the first bulkhead and then we did the aviation bulkhead and then the nozzle, and both those were put in.
My role in my group is to build an ejection system for our nose cone so that our parachute deploys so that our rocket comes down safely.
I was really excited to start this project last semester at the beginning of sophomore year, even though I was already in a different class. We're building rockets from scratch and
most high schoolers can't say that they've built fully functioning rockets, and I'm learning a lot about chemistry, a lot more than I have in other years.
I think it's pretty cool working with new tools that I haven't worked with.
Can you describe the design of your rocket?
It has more of a cone, nose cone, and it's trapezoid fins.
It's very pointy, the nose cone is very conical, so it punches a super small hole into the air so it can go faster.
We didn't want much drag when it's flying and stuff, so we wanted to have a good shape and good sizing.
It's quite unique compared to all the other projects that we do here at HTH. A lot of people like to come to our classroom just to see what we're doing, and I understand that because we're children, well not children, we're growing adults learning how to make rockets, and I find that that's pretty cool because all you ever do in those traditional schools is just sit down, listen to a teacher, and then just take notes.
The way Andrew and I like to run our classroom is to try to remove ourselves from the center as much as possible. Under this idea of decentralized leadership, we actually try to pass that leadership on to the students and have them take ownership of the work. Ideally, the best case scenario is that we are worked out of a job. We have students coming up to us saying, don't worry, I can take care of this, that person needs help over here, kind of giving us the direction as to what they need to be successful.
And the class transformed from a classroom into like this rocket workshop, and it was driven by the students. So my hope for this project really was for students to kind of think like, hey, I can do rocket science, this seemingly incredibly difficult thing to do, and build a rocket that's like very powerful. And if I can do this, you know, I can do anything. And hopefully that was the impression I wanted to have for my students.
You guys are definitely one of the best teachers I've ever had. I don't know what else to say other than just thank you for the unique experience that we had here.
I'm really looking forward for tomorrow. I'm kind of nervous because obviously you never know how it's going to turn out, but this is super exciting.
I'm scared, but also really looking forward to tomorrow. I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen.
Launch day for myself and Andrew is usually a pretty stressful day because we are hosted at the Friends of Amatry Rocketry site where there's professionals. And so, you know, there's all these eyes on you as you try to get ready and you're making sure that the rockets are safe and everyone is safe.
Yeah, actually, see, but sleeping in the tent, it was like, I don't know, I was really comfortable and it was warm in there, so I was like, all right. The only thing that was like bothering me is that, let's just say her name starts with an A.
They're both start with A.
Sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning.
How tired are you?
Really tired. I should get a coffee before doing this interview. It always surprises me how well these rockets perform. You know, we didn't necessarily know exactly how they were going to do. We had some ideas, but the rockets ended up going between 6,000 and 8,000 feet. They reached near Mach 1. I mean, the flight computer data that we got back said that they, at maximum acceleration, they were experiencing 18 Gs, which is incredible, because you think about, you know, the maximum amount that like fighter jet pilots or NASA engineers feel at any given time, and they peak at like 6 Gs for a brief moment. So I hope that they understand that if they want, they can accomplish amazing things, and that, you know, nothing should stand in their way. And, you know, rocketry, yeah, it's difficult, but they did it. But I mean, it can be anything in their lives if they apply themselves.